Get on your knees, the headmistress shouted. Her voice cut through the hallway like it always did. Sharp. Certain. Untouchable. Her son stood there, refusing, smirking the way only protected people do. Students stared at the floor. Teachers pretended not to hear. I was walking past, holding a thin folder. Nothing special. Then she saw me. Her voice stopped mid-breath. Not fear. Recognition. The room didn't understand the silence. But I did. She looked at me for one long second. And then, without a word, she knelt down herself. That's when I realized power doesn't disappear. It just changes direction. I had worked at the school for 3 years by then. Not in any position people remembered. I wasn't on the website. I didn't lead assemblies or give speeches. Most students thought I was just admin. Some teachers still asked me what my role actually was. That was fine. Invisible work has its advantages. The headmistress, Elena Viktorovna, ran the school the way some people run households. Loud rules. Public discipline. Private exceptions. Especially when it came to her son. Everyone knew it, but no one said it out loud. Her son, Maxim, skipped classes without consequence. Teachers adjusted grades quietly. Complaints disappeared into drawers. When students were punished, it happened fast and publicly. When Maxim crossed lines, meetings were postponed. Incidents were misunderstandings. That morning wasn't unusual at first. I was carrying enrollment files to the office when I heard her voice down the corridor. Not anger. Performance. The kind meant to be heard. Do you think rules don't apply to you? She shouted. Students pressed themselves against lockers, pretending to look busy. A history teacher stepped into a classroom and shut the door a little too quickly. Maxim stood in the middle of the hall. Backpack slung low. Hands in his pockets. Not apologetic. Not worried. He'd been caught again. This time pushing a younger student during break. Nothing serious. But serious enough to make an example of. Just not the example people expected. Get on your knees, Elena Viktorovna ordered, pointing to the floor. It wasn't about discipline. It was about optics. She wanted witnesses. Control. Proof that even her own child wasn't above the rules. But he didn't move. He smiled slightly, eyes flicking toward the students watching. He knew something they didn't. This was theater. I stopped a few steps away, not intending to listen. Not intending to interfere. I leaned against the wall near the notice board and adjusted the folder in my arms. That's when she saw me. Her eyes shifted from her son to me and stayed there a beat too long. Her posture changed. Shoulders tightening. Jaw setting. The folder wasn't special. Plain brown. But inside were enrollment records. Parent complaints. Signed acknowledgments. Patterns. Things I'd been asked to organize quietly. Her son followed her gaze and noticed me too. Confusion crossed his face. He didn't know me. Or rather, he didn't know why I mattered. Go to class, she said suddenly, her voice lower. Maxim blinked. What? Now, she repeated. Students murmured. The moment cracked. The show ended. As Maxim walked away, she turned back to me. Not angry. Not embarrassed. Assessing. You can wait in my office, she said. It wasn't a request. I nodded and walked past her without speaking. Inside my chest, nothing dramatic happened. No rush. No triumph. Just a quiet realization. For years, I had been carrying weight that wasn't mine. Holding information no one thought I'd use. Standing where people assumed I was harmless. And standing there in that hallway, I understood something clearly for the first time. This wasn't about her son. It was about who she thought was watching. After that day in the hallway, I did less. Not because I was tired. Because I was paying attention. I stopped filling in gaps that weren't mine to fill. When emails came without attachments, I didn't chase them. When complaints were vague, I didn't translate them into something easier to ignore. I wrote down exactly what was said. Exactly how it was said. No interpretation. That alone changed the atmosphere. Elena Viktorovna still ran the school. She still smiled during assemblies. Still spoke about discipline and values. But around me, her tone flattened. She checked her words. Corrected herself mid-sentence more than once. She had noticed that I wasn't reacting anymore. At home, sleep came in pieces. I'd wake up thinking about small moments I'd dismissed for years. How often parents were told to trust the school. How often Maxim's name appeared in files that never went anywhere. How often I'd been asked to handle it quietly. I hadn't questioned it before. It felt like being useful. Now it felt like being used. Maxim began changing his behavior in subtle ways. He didn't linger near my desk anymore. He stopped joking loudly in the corridor. Once, he waited for a teacher to leave before passing by me, eyes forward, jaw tight. He didn't know what I knew. But he knew I knew something. Teachers started coming to me instead of around me. Not dramatically. Just small things. Can you log this? Should we document that? Is there a form for incidents during break? I answered yes. I showed them how. I didn't encourage them. I didn't warn anyone. I just followed the rules that had always existed. That's when I understood something important. The rules were never missing. They were just selectively applied. One afternoon, Elena Viktorovna called me into her office. Not angry. Not friendly. Neutral. You've become very procedural, she said. I've always been procedural, I replied. She studied me for a moment. Then nodded, as if confirming something privately. From that day on, she stopped asking favors. Everything came in writing. Every instruction was copied to someone else. She was protecting herself. And in doing so, she was admitting something without saying it. My silence wasn't submission anymore. It was exposure. I no longer felt small in that building. I felt anchored. And somewhere between the forms, the quiet nights, and the way people started choosing their words around me, I realized the balance had already shifted. Not because I acted. Because I stopped absorbing what was never mine to carry. I didn't press anything forward. I didn't follow up. I didn't remind. I didn't escalate. I let time do what it does best. Files accumulated naturally. Incident reports. Parent emails. Small notes from teachers who had learned that writing things down changed how seriously they were taken. Nothing dramatic. Just consistency. I became boring in the most effective way. Elena Viktorovna adjusted her routines. She started walking the halls with another administrator. Meetings gained agendas. Decisions that used to happen in passing were suddenly postponed, until documentation is reviewed. Distance appeared where familiarity used to live. Maxim was quieter now. Not reformed. Just cautious. He chose his moments. Picked safer targets. The absence of immediate consequence unsettled him more than punishment ever had. Parents noticed delays. Some asked questions. Others filed formal complaints for the first time instead of accepting apologies. No one named me as the reason. Systems rarely have a face. Then an external review was announced. Routine. Scheduled long before any of this. A standard audit that visited every few years. Normally, Elena Viktorovna prepared for it personally. This time, she didn't. She asked for files. All of them. I gave her exactly what existed. Nothing added. Nothing removed. Her hands trembled slightly as she flipped through pages she had once waved away. Dates lined up. Patterns emerged without commentary. She didn't look at me. The review itself was quiet. No scenes. No raised voices. Just questions. Requests for clarification. Notes taken carefully. Afterward, the building felt different. Lighter. Tighter. Announcements changed tone. Disciplinary procedures were revisited. Maxim was transferred to another class. Not punished. Repositioned. I watched it all from my desk. No satisfaction. No relief. Just the steady sense of something correcting itself. I understood then that I hadn't removed her power. I had placed it where it belonged. And whatever came next would arrive without my involvement.